Welcome, Kjetil, to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Green Carnation, the first part for this trilogy, A Dark Point Part 1, The Shores of Melancholy, and more Melancholia, and one more thing related to the metal world in general. So we are starting by asking, how are you doing today, and how is the band over the last couple of years? Because your previous album, it was released 5 years ago, Leaves of Yesteryear.
Yeah. Now I'm quite good today. We're just back from the US where we did a world premiere on all the new songs live 2 days before the album came. And after that we went on a little road trip in the US in the South States there up to Nashville to check out some of the legends that used to hang out in Nashville a few decades ago, which was great. So I'm still, I don't know, I'm struggling with the jet lag maybe a little bit, but it's getting better. When it got to the band, yeah, we're in a really hectic period right now, of course, being just 1 week after the release of our first album for 5 years. It has been quite busy times for some of us, at least. In regards of finishing the writing and of course the recording process of all the 3 new albums. So although it doesn't, that's not the easiest thing to share with the rest of the world, like we're writing new music today as well, stuff like that. So it might have felt quite quiet from us for a little while, but since the first single, or since we announced the album trilogy, it's been quite busy for us, to be honest with you. But that's just, of course, nice. It's because of, there's a lot of interest in the trilogy, and now, of course, in the first part of the trilogy. So that's just, a big motivation for us.
Okay. So, and then this kind of topic. So, when do you decide writing songs for this first trilogy? And it was during the rest of the pandemic, or perhaps do you rescue compositions that left well for the previous one? Oh, or all the songs are new. So, when do you decide to create songs for this new album?
Yeah, well, the idea of doing a trilogy has been in Green Carnation's mind for many years, even since our first period, which was the beginning of the 2000s. So I think the first time we talked about doing a trilogy was after Light of Day, Day of Darkness was released in 2001. It was like, what on earth do we do now? Like, we just released an album which is just one song, a 1 hour long song. So we discussed, like, we want to give ourselves challenges. We decided to challenge ourselves in different ways in the early 2000s, writing, exploring different, genres within the band. But when we got back together in 2016 for the Light of Day, Day of Darkness anniversary, 15-year anniversary, we hadn't really decided if we were going to continue as a band or not after 2016, after the comeback year. But after, the reception we got when coming back together was amazing from, the metal community all over the world, and, our fans, and we even had new fans then. And then when we decided that we want to continue as a band, we want to make new music also after 2016, the idea of doing a trilogy popped into our minds again. And we started discussing with labels, and we said that we have been thinking about doing this trilogy for quite a while, and we think now might be the time. And Season of Mist, which we ended up signing with, was really in on the idea. So we actually ended up signing a 5-album deal with Season of Mist. So the plan was always to release one normal album first, which was Leaves of Yesteryear in 2020, and then re-release the acoustic verses with a new pack, like on vinyl and stuff, in 2022, to give us time to write all the new music that ended up being a trilogy, and where we now have been able to share the first album with the people. So yeah, actually, to answer your question, we started actually writing the music for this in 2018. And of course, we had planned to use more time on playing live after releasing Leaves of Yesteryear, but as we all know what happened in 2020, so it wasn't easy to tour in 20 and 21 at all. So I think we did, manage to use our time quite well. And most of the year last year we were in the studio to record all new albums, and we have finished everything actually already, which makes it like an even better feeling, because I know that if we had to start composing album number 2 now, that would have been a struggle, I think. So I'm really happy that we finished all the recordings in December last year. Well, we did some stuff in June this year, but that's going to be on the third album anyway. So we're kind of finished with everything now. Yeah. I lost your
Oh, okay,
sound.
sorry for this.
Yeah.
Now, okay,
Yeah.
now. So, and in this kind of test, yes, amazing, amazing that this new album is composed since 2018. Well, amazing for that. So, and now, well, this album is like 1 or 2 weeks older at this moment. So, and how it was the reception of the fans? For example, the comments on the social media, etc., and also how it was the press, how it was the press about the reviews, and how do you take, for example, a bad review? And
Yeah. Uh, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. It's always, a little bit of excitement, especially when you read the first reviews, because most of the times the first reviews would be like would at least show you if we totally missed missed like our effort, or if people do understand what we tried to do. The first reviews that we saw on this new album was totally amazing. And I thought, okay, that's a good sign at least. But to be honest with you, I probably haven't seen all the reviews, but I've seen a lot of the reviews, and everything has been amazing. So of course, you would take a not too positive review if they kind of if the critique is something you can understand, if kind of okay, yeah, I see what he means or she means, you would totally accept that as an artist. But I don't know if kind of they miss on the critics. It's not that easy to accept sometimes. But on this album, I haven't seen anything. Well, I read one. It was an 8 out of 10, but that's the most negative review I've seen on the new album. And that reviewer said that the singer was singing false notes, and I know for a fact that that's not true. So I'm not sure what what he meant by that. But yeah, so that's the most negative thing I've seen. But that was still an 8 out of 10, so it wasn't a total crisis.
okay, okay, okay. So now, well, let's and this kind of situation. So why did you decide in this time to create a trilogy? So it means obviously that you release that you said it. The second part is completely recorded, and the third part is already on works at this moment. So and this one. So what do you decide? What do you decide to the time to has this trilogy, and how do you, because sometimes when there is a trilogy, you need to hear the 3 albums in a row to understand
Yeah.
the full concept. It's like in a
Yeah.
book.
Yep. It's interesting because that you're saying exactly that, because we wanted to make the first album possible to listen to alone, and to not feel you miss anything when you finish the first album. We would like the second album to get to have the same, to give the listener the same feeling, is that this is an album that can stand on its own, But I do think when the third album is released, I cannot say too much about it in detail yet. I think everybody's going to understand after having listened to the third album that Oh, this is all connected. All three albums are actually connected musically, especially, and also lyrically. But I don't think people would understand it completely before listening to the third album, actually. Therefore, it's been important for us to compose. When we composed the music also, we composed everything and we put together the three records afterwards. So we needed to put songs together that would make album number one an album that's, possible to listen to on its own, and not feeling that you miss anything. And I think we succeeded in that. And we're trying to do the same with the second. It's going to be a different kind of album, I think, but still it's, written in the same writing process and everything. So you will hear that it's kind of it's the same band, it's the same recording and stuff, but there's going to be some different focuses on the second album. And again, as I said, it's on the third album you would understand that everything is connected. So why do a trilogy? I think it's we've been a band that's been going on for many years now, and we felt that we were ready for a huge challenge, like to challenge ourselves. Of course, we are used to challenging ourselves, and luckily our fans are used to us challenging them as well. But now, after doing this band for so many years, I think we were ready for like a monumental challenge for ourselves, and that's why we dared to do a trilogy now. And I'm kind of happy that we did it now and not the early 2000s, because I'm not sure if we would have been able to do that in the early 2000s. But well, who knows? But at least we felt that we were ready to do it now. And it did take 7 years from starting to writing it until everything was ready. So that says a little bit about the task of writing such an amount of music, arranging such an amount of music, recording it, and have guests. And there's a lot of guests coming on the next two albums as well. So it's been the planning process. We planned everything like 1 to 3 years in advance, everything that we wanted to do now. So that's maybe because we're getting old now that we understand the need of planning everything. And so when you have a good idea, you can still have time to actually do it, instead of like we did, many years ago. You had a good idea and it was already way too late.
Okay. And one thing that captured my attention all in this kind of series, because I've been hearing a lot of conceptual albums, trilogy albums, and mostly of these kind of things, we need to, as I said it, we need to hear these three albums together to understand the whole concept, because this is how it works, how the music or how the order works for the movies, from the books, from the music, and so in this kind of situation, how do you avoid, if for some people try to just in some kind of ways is lost during the first album, because they wait to the second and the third part to hear completely, to understand the whole concept. It was like Lord of the Rings. When it was released, the first book, you be anxious to read the second one, or the
Yes,
movies in
of
this
course.
kind of situation. So in this one, how do you avoid that the people doesn't, how can I put this word? So they will not be some kind of deception meanwhile we are waiting the second album.
Yeah. It's a valid question. I think we have been quite open in all interviews, at least, and you would get it when you hear the album also, that this is not a concept album. That is a storyline that starts in the first song and ends in the last song of the third album. The concept is around, it's a thematical concept around the lyrics and the music as well, that is dealing with many of the same issues on the first and second and third album. So it's not a storyline that starts and ends. It's just that continuously like dealing with all those problematic themes that we all maybe feel that live in this world in 2025, in regards to our position, like in the world today as human beings on a general level and on a personal level, also within the world and also within, your private life, when it comes to, the the feeling of not being able to control your situation, when it comes to, for example, your family. Many people in our age have kids that are kind of moving out, and you send them into a world that you kind of don't really understand anymore, because you don't know yet anymore what's true and what's false, and there's so many things that I think my generation now is, although a kind of in the when it comes to the technological revolution that we've been a part of, I think now many people are feeling that we're losing control with the AI technology and everything, and you don't really understand. I don't really understand when I see a picture, of when I see a video, is this true or is this false? And for somebody who's grown up in an age where it's easy to understand stuff, it's an overload of uncomfortable, feelings that you have to deal with. And I think we're kind of trying to deal with these kind of feelings throughout the three albums. So that's why I can say that, the story isn't, starting here and once upon a time there was a man and he moved to this place, and it's everything is just evolving all the time around the same kind of themes, if that makes sense to you.
Okay, amazing. Well, yeah, because sometimes when you hear the first part, you need to hear the second part immediately. It's completely normal in the art industry in general, all in the art. So in this kind of situation, other kind of things that capture my attention since the beginning, since I started to hear music since the 80s. I remember very well that the bands from the 70s, especially from the progressive rock bands, all the time this brings these trilogies, conceptual albums. I don't know why, but all the time the progressive stuff are very, very related with these kind of things. So it's
Yeah.
like common thing. You will see that in jazz. You will see in King Crimson, Jethro Tull. A lot of old bands did that one. So and for this one, so why always the progressive metal stuff or progressive rock stuff are related with these trilogies or the conceptual albums?
Yeah, I would say that it's a little bit in, if you say the word progressive means to me that you don't have too many borders. So to make like a pop music, like a slick pop music trilogy wouldn't make any sense at all, because the formats are different. You need to be within a radio format, for example, today, to be able, like for anyone to listen to you, if you're like a slick pop act, for example. But I think the ones who are into progressive music are more open-minded to things being not normal. And I would say that's the big, gift by working within this genre, is that you don't really have any borders that you have to listen, any rules that you have to listen to, which of course makes it possible for us in 2001 to release an album that's one track, 60 minutes, just one song. It's not even like divided into parts. That's why it's sold like a single on Amazon, which is not too. It's not too economically good for us, of course, but yeah, the progressive scene, well, so music. Because there are no rules there, that's where you would find those kind of trilogies. Also in jazz, in at least some parts of the jazz genre, you would be without those very specific rules that you have to stay within in order to be, for example, pop music or like slick pop music. There is a lot of great pop music. That's not what I'm saying, but and I guess, it's a non-commercial thing as well, because in 2025 you get like advice that everything needs to be short and quick and instant and everything, and then we make 3 albums that belong together, and that's so like non-commercial as you can get it in 2025, I guess. But again, it's not like we didn't want any rules to kind of to hinder our creativity, and that's why we could do this.
Okay, okay. So yes, and one question and one thing that you said it now the music industry was completely different.
Yeah,
Now the span attention is a great like a great it's a great thing in the world now because the people are just hearing people the song or the music with singles and just smaller songs. But you decide to create an album, long an album like more than them. In this kind of situation, you a novel for more than 40 minutes. Obviously, it is still short for it to be a progressive rock album or progressive metal album. But either way, so your songs are more than 6 minutes or 7 minutes. What your last song from this album, "Too Close to the Flame," is 9 minutes. So it means that the people need to be pay attention for a lot of textures and in this situation. So and for this kind of situation, how can you avoid that the people just still is trying to avoid this kind of situation of the span attention when you are creating an album and obviously and a trilogy that will be more than an hour or 2 hours, the trilogy.
yeah, yeah. No, that's not been our concern,
Mhm,
and we're not making music for specific, people either.
mhm,
We just make the music that like
mhm,
music happens, and the music like our ideas when we work on demos and pre-productions, they decide, for example, the length of the song. It's not like you decide when you start writing a song that this song has to be 2 minutes 50 seconds because we want people to hear it, because then it would be no song for us, because then you would just be you would be through the intro and halfway into the first chorus after 2 minutes for 50 seconds probably. So also, but I think that like we're around 50 years old now, the guys who play in the band and and me and Sten Roger, who's written all the music. Uh, and I do think the attention span on like when it comes to music that you like for 50-year-olds, or say between 35 and 60 then would still be there. So it's not like we don't make music for 12-year-olds that's not used to kind of listening to anything for more than 5 seconds, luckily, because that would be kind of a bit boring, I think, for us, So other people can take care of that, and we can take care of what we want to do and what we master better than making very, very short pop songs.
Hmm. Okay, okay, okay. Now let's talk about more a little promotion of all this about Dark Point Part One. So, in for this, what kind of promotion do you have for this album? Perhaps I saw that you're returning from for a great festival in US, and perhaps you will embark more tours. I saw that you will play some tours there, but perhaps you will come here for the first time to Latin America for a full tour. Who knows? Or what? Or perhaps in Asia. Who knows? Who knows in general? So, what kind of plans do you have to promote this album? Because we're already working in the second part and the third part. So I cannot ask about the you are you already working in a new album. So that's why. So what kind
Yeah.
of plans do you have for Green Carnation and this new album?
Yeah. Of course, now we needed to rehearse the entire new album, so we've already performed that in the US.
Mhm.
So within not too far, within not too long, we're gonna rehearse also the second part, and then for 2026, we're gonna do a live set until the third album comes, that consists of a combination between this first and the second. And that will be a set that's possible to do on festivals.
Mhm.
On festivals, you sometimes are asked to play 45 minutes and sometimes 1.5 hours, for example. So within those first 2 albums, we'll have the possibility to do like a dark poem part 1 and 2, and mix like decide which songs to play when we know how long we're gonna play. And from the end of 2026, we're gonna introduce also some of the songs from the third album to the live set. So through 26 and all of 2027, we're gonna be able to promote the part one, and then part one and two, and then part one, two, and three in one set actually. So that's the plan. When it comes to ambitions live, it's not always up to us to decide. Like people need to want to hear us live, and the promoters and the festival bookers would need to remember that we're around and we have released some great albums, and they need to contact us in order for us to come and play. Of course, again, since we talked about like not being like not doing very short songs and stuff, like we're not making it easy for us when it comes to playing live either, because we're a lot of people in the band. It's not so economically, it's also a challenge for us, because to the US we were like 10 people traveling, which is extremely yeah, it's it's expensive. So again, to explain that we really want to play, we are talking with somebody to come to Latin America for the first time. I wouldn't know, it's probably not going to be like a long tour, but it's going to hopefully, if it happens, be several countries, at least some countries. Maybe even Asia, as you said, and we're open for everything. But we're also at an age now, and we do have other stuff in our lives than music. So to go on like a world tour for 1 or 2 months probably is not gonna happen with us. But to do festivals, to do like we call it special shows, maybe to do like a week or 2 weekends and the week in between together with another band, for example, that's possible. And the interest seems to be growing already, even just 1 week after we released the album. So that's a good sign. So that makes me confident that we might be able to kind of do the things we really want to do, because we decided that we're not going to do anything because of anything else, that we really want to do it. And of course, it needs to be economically, sensible as well. But yeah, I really, really want to come to Latin America for the first time with Green Carnation, actually. And it seems like there's quite a lot of interest in some of the countries, at least for us to come. So hopefully that's going to happen.
Okay. Okay, so in this topic, let's talk about let's talk about, for example, for something that could be happen in the future. Because when you release the third part for this A Dark Poem, you will have the whole concept of the album, or the people will have the whole concept of the album. And for this, if you have the opportunity to present these three albums in a row, because there isn't a possibility. So what kind of scenario will you use? I mean, so as you can see, Behemoth use demons, fire, and these kind of topics. Iron Maiden you can see the scenography of these kind of bigger bands are like, it has a huge stuff. So if you have the opportunity, and also you have the budget to present these three albums in a live presentation, how many things will you include in these presentations? Actors, because you said it's a history since the beginning to now, and also the history has an actors, has characters, all the situation. As you can see, Arion from Netherlands did that in the past, with actors, with a lot of people featuring. So if you have the budget, how many things do you will use in these actors and these situations?
Yeah, actually, it's a funny thing that you ask, because today it's exactly 1 year until we're going to do that. We're gonna play all the three albums in full in our hometown in Kristiansand, Norway, in the actual building that I'm sitting in right now. And then we're gonna have all, the guest artists are gonna be there, and there's gonna be a lot of them. I cannot say exactly how many, but more than 30 people altogether on stage during the evening. And we're still working on the visuals of it, but Green Carnation has always been like a Morris Moore band when it comes to all to the effects we use in order to make people feel what we want to feel. So So I cannot say it in too much of a detail, but I can say that there's going to be a lot of guests on stage during that evening, and we're going to do the first, the second, and the third album in one evening in our hometown. So that's going to be a huge thing for us, and I don't think that's probably never going to happen again because of everyone that's involved in that concert cannot come with us on tour, for example. It's totally impossible. But luckily we've sold so many tickets already to maybe I think 14 or 15 countries already since announcing the gig 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So that's going to be something to remember, and also for the people coming to Kristiansand, in Norway that weekend, we're going to kind of do something both on Carnation related events all through the weekend, and then have the long concert on Saturday evening, and then a proper after party together with the people coming from all over the world to see it.
Okay, okay, okay. So, and we are very close to this interview, Kjetil. So, and for this, let's talk about another kind of topics because now, we spoke a lot about this album, this new upcoming album. And one thing I want to ask you because I spoke with you like 5 years ago for your previous album, and now I'm speaking with you for this new album. So, but one thing that you mentioned me at that moment that you will return back with Tristania at that moment, and now there is a lot of things happen then because the tour was announced at that moment. Tristana will come here for the first time with a full tour Latin America, but then the bands decide to split up at that moment. Many things, many reasons happen in the social media because the people has like a thorn like a snake. They speak, and they just want to see where's the reason, the original reason. So now returning back to that question, so at that moment you decide to return it back with the Tristania, and then the tour was cancelled and the band completely split out, and there is no more Tristania.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I think the tour was first postponed because of COVID one time,
Mm-hmm.
and then one more time, and then that was during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I think the entire like the band just lost the will to not to live as human beings, but we just lost the motivation totally, completely. And it had nothing to do with the tour in Latin America, really. It was just that like everything is just like, of course, for people individually as well, it was a really difficult period. And then to try and motivate ourselves for the third time in a row to begin to prepare when it was not really possible because of we couldn't travel anywhere within our own country, even like in periods, as you remember. It was just too much for us, and then there was some practical like everything just kind of just felt so dark and so difficult at the time. So it was something practical happening as well, that just like everybody was just okay, now it's enough, we just cannot do this anymore. And it's a bit sad, but I don't think we were the only band to actually give up during COVID, but it was just draining the energy out of. And of course, if there's one thing you need in order to be in a band, it's lots of positive energy, because we're not earning money, any like serious money on this. So you have to have the motivation, you have to have the energy. And when that all completely disappears, there's nothing left. And that's why we just had to stop as a band. And I'm going to be really surprised if we get back together anytime, to be honest. It's not because we're not friends, but there's not been a motivation at all to start it up again since that happened. And
Mm,
it's a bit of a shame, but it's an honest explanation for that.
okay, okay. I completely understand for this detail. Well, Kjetil, we arrived to the sad moment of this interview. Thank you very much for your time. This album is great. Congratulations on this new one. And perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans that expect someday a full Latin American who knows, and obviously Metallica followers.
Yeah, yeah. As I said to you, that's one of the things that, like, we actually have an agent now for the US and Latin America, and we're going to talk quite soon about what could be realistic for us in Latin America during, well, probably during 2026 to be realistic. It's not going to happen this year. So let's see how many concerts, how many festivals. I don't know yet, but at least we're going to try. And again, as I said to you, it's a big challenge for us to have Green Carnation on the road because of the costs. But if people in Latin America doing like festivals or tours believe that this is possible to do, I think we're going to do that together. But I cannot promise anything. I can only promise that we really want to do it and we'll try to make it happen.